Happy Friday. Welcome to Streaming Star Wars. I'm Pete Flitzer, and I'm joined by my buddy Nick. Nick, how you doing, man?
Good evening, my friend. Happy Friday to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a week that has been filled with a lot of conversation about Star Wars Celebration.
It has.
Some late breaking news that hit around Ahsoka. There's a lot of toy talk. It was one of those sort of low key, really busy Star Wars weeks, I think.
And I said this last week, but I think this may be a little bit of a preview of what we can expect over the next maybe even several months, because we know Celebration is on the horizon. We know that Kenobi's coming out. We know there's all these other, you're going to get to it in the news, but as we say every week, and it's one of our, should be one of our either bingo cards or drinking game rules, in this golden era of Star Wars that it feels like we're in, these news weeks are going to continue, which of course is great news for disturbances in the Force.
Right.
But you're right. You sent me, I think, your write-up of the news yesterday to look at, and I think I sent you 2 new links today of other stories and other things
It is,
that
yeah. It's
weren't
just
there
kind of,
yesterday.
and it's not earth shattering, but it's all exciting stuff. Like you say all the time, it is a phenomenal time to be a fan. So, well, we're gonna
Without
get to
question.
all of that tonight. Where if you're joining us in the chat, thank you so much. Make sure to stay a part of that conversation. You can help us keep the conversation going. But Nick, why don't we? Hey, Brian is with us. Brian,
That's
hey, good
right.
to see you. And of course, William, what's going on, man? And so we got a bunch hanging out with us.
That's right.
Why don't we get the news on and started, and then from there we can just have a good time chatting about what is happening in the world of Star Wars. What do you think?
Let's do it. Give us some news.
Well, Star Wars Celebration announcements are made, a busy week for action figures, and a director is attached to the Ahsoka series. Give us 5 minutes, and we'll give you the galaxy. Well, another week, another flood of news, rumors, clickbait, and conversation. This is Pete Fletzer, and welcome to Disturbances in the Force. All the links to the original sources can be found in the notes, and I urge you to check them out. So, let's get to it. Star Wars Celebration grabbed a lot of the attention of Star Wars fans this week as news of guests and events began to emerge. Opening the Star Wars Con on Thursday, May 26th, there's a panel of, quote, live action filmmakers that will be joined by special guests to discuss Star Wars adventures coming soon, including Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, and The Mandalorian. On Saturday, May 28th, a panel featuring Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau called Mando Plus promises to give fans a look back at the series and tease a look at what to come. And on Sunday, David W. Collins, a former Star Wars Around the Galaxy guest, he was not a host, he was a guest. He's going to host a panel all about the Bad Batch featuring Bradley Baker, the voice of all 5 members of the Bad Batch, and all the clones, of course, Michelle Ang, the voice of Omega, and producers Brad Rao and Jen Corbett. In addition to the panels that were announced, the guest list continues to grow. Fans can expect opportunities to meet C-3PO himself, Anthony Daniels, the voice of Ahsoka Tano, Ashley Eckstein, Carl Weathers, a.k.a. Grief Karga, D. Bradley Baker, Giancarlo Esposito, who is the Mandalorian's Moff Gideon, Ian McDiarmid, a.k.a. Senator Palpatine and Emperor Palpatine, Steve Sansweet, Doug Chang, as well as the entire slate of the High Republic authors. Photo and autograph sessions are on sale now at StarWarsCelebration.com and range from $50 to $155. Star Wars Celebration will take place at the Anaheim Convention Center in Anaheim, California from May 26th through May 29th this year. ATG Cast will be there covering all 4 days live from the convention floor. Hasbro revealed new products in their vintage collection, Gaming Greats, and Black Series lines of action figures earlier this week. From the 6-inch Black Series, expect a lightsaber-wielding comic book stormtrooper named Sergeant Creel, an upcoming Grogu figure, and Migs Mayfield in his Season 1 of The Mandalorian outfit. They also revealed a 6-inch Gaming Great Series clone trooper called Sev from the classic Republic Commando game, and a comic book version of Princess Leia. Finally, the Black Series version of Darth Vader from the Infinities comic book line, where the Lord of the Sith turned to the light side and is adorned in white versions of his armor. The 3.75-inch vintage collection unveiled the leader of the Cantina Band, Figrin Dan, an airborne Death Watch Mandalorian, a Mandalorian Super Commando, Captain, as seen in Clone Wars, and Lando from Solo: A Star Wars Story. And for you EU fans, Hasbro announced a 3.75-inch Shea Vizsla. Finally, they announced a 4-pack of 3.75-inch Death Troopers from Rogue One. And for the helmet collectors, a repaint of the X-Wing pilot helmet will be released in the form of Dave Filoni's Mandalorian character, Republic fighter Trapper Wolf. All these releases and more can be found on the Hasbro website, and most are available for pre-order now. This week saw the long-awaited release of the LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga video game. The game features more than 300 playable characters and vehicles, and the ability to play across all 9 episodes of the Star Wars theatrical films. DLC has already been released that allows playing as Mandalorian and Bad Batch characters. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, with a 9.1 out of 10 score on Metacritic. E.K. Johnson's third installment of her Padme Amidala book trilogy was released, and the book is called Queen's Hope. The description reads, Padme is adjusting to being a wartime senator during the Clone Wars. Her secret husband, Anakin Skywalker, is off fighting the war and excels at being a wartime Jedi. In contrast, when Padme gets the opportunity to see the casualties of the war-torn front lines, she is horrified. The stakes have never been higher for the galaxy or for their newly married couple. This book follows 2019's Queen's Shadow and 2020's Queen's Peril. Queen's Hope is available now in the links below or wherever you buy books. Speaking of books, 3 new re-releases of Legends era books are on their way. According to the Edelweiss website, X-Wing, The Back to War, The Old Republic Deceived, and The Old Republic Revan will be part of the 5th wave coming in November. No release information has officially come from Lucasfilm Publishing, but these are expected to be available on November 1st this year. And finally, in news that is just in, The Hollywood Reporter is saying that Peter Ramsey has been attached to the Disney Plus show Ahsoka as a director of at least one episode. Ramsey became the first African-American to win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The series is being written by Dave Filoni, who is also executive producing with Jon Favreau. Shooting is slated to begin later this month in Los Angeles. There are no further details on the show as far as the number of episodes or a release date at this time. Well, that wraps it up for this week's Disturbances in the Force. Make sure to check out the ATG Cast podcast stream for weekly one-on-one interviews with the people behind the fandom. This Thursday, Podcast of the Wills will wrap up their Return of the Jedi canon study with the special guests David and Timothy Drennan of the As Father and Son podcast. Please subscribe for regular updates. Follow us on all your social media channels at ATG Cast and visit our website at atgcast.com to keep up with us, find our merch, and get information about supporting the show as an ATG patron. Thank you so much for listening, and may the Force be with you. Well, there we go. Another week of news.
I was on edge for you the whole time because it's just a bunch of news, and it's a bunch of names, and it's all very exciting. But a couple of things that sparked as we start to make our way into some of our conversations. We've forgotten something very important, Pete.
And what is that?
We have a tradition on this show. It's basically built into our brand.
Yes.
I'm actually sitting here and I feel the scorn from R5 Drink More as he looks at me right here. We have not raised our glasses yet this evening. So
that's true.
Happy Friday. Cheers to you. Cheers to everybody who's watching along, or cheers to everybody who might pick this up on Monday in their podcast feed.
Absolutely. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for reminding me.
I mean, if you're going to do this,
I do need to admit
we
that
got to do it right.
I rushed into the news, a little behind the scenes here, when I saw a little flash on my teleprompter screen that said 10% battery life remaining, and I was like, "Oh no, it's gonna die mid." And this was a long news, so I was worried about it. To be honest with you,
you were racing the battery, but
I was racing
as always, you are a professional and you prevailed. So let me ask you a question.
Sure, man.
But as we get ready to jump into some of the main things we wanted to talk about tonight, the toy news. We talked about this the other day, and actually I texted you, I think yesterday, the link for the Trapper Wolf helmet because I know you, and I know the crystal meth that Grogu pops and helmets are for you.
This is true.
And it brought about an interesting question, and I thought about, I don't have nearly as many helmets as you do, but I have a few helmets. If you could only keep one of your Black Series helmets, what would be the one helmet you would keep?
The one that I would keep. It's a good question. Um, I guess I would probably have to say I'll give you an either or. Either Vader because it's so classic.
Right.
And the Black Series Vader is really well done.
It's really great.
Really good. Or the Boba Fett Empire Strikes Back 40th because it looks great. And actually it's so funny because those are the two that are like hardest to see on the screen here. But yeah, I think if down to one, I'd say Vader. It's just so
Okay.
classic. I mean, ever since I was 7 years old, I wanted a Vader helmet. And when they what was it, the was it Ovanos or whatever the name of that company
A
is that
Novos, yeah.
yeah, when that one came out, but it was like $400 or $500 or whatever, I was like, "Ah, I'm never gonna
Right.
get one. Um, but this one, it's priced right and it looks great. So I would stick with that. What about you? If you could either keep some of the ones you have, one of the ones you have, or get one, which one would you do?
Absolutely. Well, what I have, and this is a much easier list than yours, so I can run them down quickly. I have the Vader.
Right.
Here's what I love about the Vader, and I think we've talked about this before. It is so well done. The sound effects are fun.
Yeah.
But if you've ever noticed, if you separate the bottom jawline piece from the
Yeah.
upper part where those magnets are, and then push the sound thing, it does the labored breathing from Return of the Jedi, not the
Yeah.
regular breathing, which the first time I discovered that, I think I exclaimed out loud. Like that's a fun
It is
touch.
so cool.
So
Yeah.
I have Vader. I have classic Stormtrooper, as you can see over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I also have the Empire Boba. And then I have, it's not Black Series, but I have a Clone Trooper, and I have the half mask Death Trooper that looks good sitting on a shelf.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
the back half of it is not. In fact, it's actually right here. This
Oh, very
guy
cool. Yeah.
looks good, has the green, has the lights, but the back half of it is that. If I was going to keep one, it would be the Stormtrooper, the
Yeah.
classic Stormtrooper, because all growing up, that was the one I wanted.
Yeah.
I just thought something about those armies of Stormtroopers were so cool and so neat, even though they died all the time and easily expendable. But of the ones I have, that's the one I'd keep. And I believe you and I are in agreement on if there was one, like I've resisted some of the pre-orders. In fact, I canceled the Bo-Katan pre-order. It's cool, but it's not my thing. I don't need it.
Yeah, I didn't cancel mine. I actually was just in the store the other day. They were looking through my pre-orders. They're like, "Oh, you have Bo-Katan pre-order." I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good."
But I will say, and I'm hoping because next year we're going to get 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, I
Right.
do need the Biker Scout Trooper. That's the one. That's the hole in my soul that we don't have. That's the
Yeah,
one that I want.
that would be amazing. You know what else? I would love a clone trooper phase 2, and I've looked at buying them on Etsy or wherever
Mhm.
from the guys who make them for their 501st costumes, but I can't justify $300 for one. 120 would be
Absolutely.
great, but
Well,
300
and
is
if
just
I'm playing the what comes behind that, um, and again, my route kind of like you with the Novos or some of the specialties. If it's a Black Series and it's one of the ones that are like, I guess my Mount Rushmore would be classic Stormtrooper, Scout
right.
Trooper. I do love the Shore Trooper a lot from
Oh
Rogue
man, that would
One.
be great.
And then if they did a Black Series Death Trooper, I think that would be one that would be hard to resist because
See,
those four to me are just so iconic looking.
I think I'm the only person in the world who doesn't love the Death Trooper. I
Right.
just my son, it's his favorite stormtrooper. But I would love the what was the trooper that was riding the bike in Solo?
Oh, the Patrol
The
Trooper, I think
patrol
is what it was
troopers. I
called.
love
Mhm.
them. I think they're pretty cool because those
Yeah.
they also have that sort of classic Macquarie look as well. So
And I think one that also is fun is the one that we started to get in JD's ride, actually, a Captain Rex helmet. I mean,
yeah,
come on, why don't we have a Black Series
how do we
Rex?
not have one yet?
Um,
Yep.
but in Bad Batch, we see the transition away from the clones into the more traditional Stormtrooper, and there's that kind of in between one
Yeah.
that has kind of a distinct look to it. That would be fun, but again, I'm trying to control the collecting that I'm doing as it stands, and so if I were clearing out, liquidating, making moves and changes, the Stormtrooper stays. The Vader's a hard choice, and again, I have the 40th Empire Boba. Those are great
Yeah.
helmets, but yeah, the game is you have to keep one. So
And I have to say, I at first I was like, I don't need the Trapper Wolf, but I kind of do because it's just so
mhm.
it was so cool to see Filoni in that, and I have the wedge. So, but
Right.
I'd prefer a Biggs actually if they were going to give us one.
See,
Give us a
and
Biggs helmet.
we just have to the reprints, the
They
repaint
will eventually.
they will. Yeah, 60 years of, Bigs later, we'll
Right.
get one somewhere along the line. Well, let's get into some of the things that you and I kind of talked about and decided, we wanted to hit on this week. And it kind of mirrors the news.
Yeah.
But I had texted you earlier this week, kind of a rundown of some stuff I thought we could get into that would be fun. And I think we're going to start with Celebration.
Yeah. I think we should.
Celebration is coming. Do you have a countdown on days? And I think last week it was 55. So
Yeah, I think I saw it today, something like 47 days or something like that,
okay.
which is just amazing that it's that close. I can't believe it's that close. I'm not mentally
So
prepared for it.
so you're going to Celebration. You have never been to Celebration before, correct?
I have never been to Celebration. It's
Okay.
it surprises me as much as it surprises people when I tell them that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in one of the few times in our partnership and friendship that I have the one up on you, I have been to a Celebration.
That's
Now,
amazing. Yes.
there's a caveat to that. I went to only one day of Celebration Orlando in 2017.
Right.
In fact, I have my
Oh, look
badge,
at
my
that.
Thursday. It was Thursday too. First day of the thing.
So
Podium.
was that that was the Last Jedi year they did the
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was April of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It was the April right after Carrie Fisher had died.
Oh, right.
She had died in December of 16. So that was, a part of the stuff. And my good buddy Chad Gibbs, he's an author. He lives near me. He called me and he was like, "Hey," he was like, "I want to go to this thing, and I know you want to go to this thing. Let's do it." So we road tripped from Montgomery to Orlando. It's a 9-hour drive, whatever.
Wow.
He's an author and he has written several travel books, and so he has travel points, and he has this. He's one of these travel hack guys, which just fascinate me. And so basically, like, he's like, I rented a car with my points. I've got hotels with my points. Like, I just had to pay for like the ticket to get into, that one day, which I think that year was $50 for one day.
Mm-hmm.
And we went, and I'd never experienced anything like it. I've been to a couple of smaller Comic-Cons. You've talked about going to New York Comic-Con, some of that stuff.
Yep.
I wasn't prepared for, and plug, you were on Thank the Maker the other day, and y'all talked about Celebration and talked about this thing.
Yep.
Compared to a different con, you're not prepared for the fact that literally everybody is there for the same thing.
Right.
Everybody's there for Star Wars, which is so wild. Now you're going to see crossover stuff. Like there's going to be people dressed up as like the Simpsons as Star Wars characters. Or you're going to see, The Office as Star Wars, like the fun parts of it, but it's still, it's all Star Wars. It's a whole thing. And JD's exactly right. Where did it go? Nope. Brian said it. Brian said, I went to one day in Chicago with my eldest, prepare to be overwhelmed, Pete.
I can't. Yeah.
So we're going to do a couple things because I want to hear where you're at this point, 47 days out. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what you're expecting, what you hope for, what you're looking forward to. And then I'm going to give you some tips. And again, I'm not really a pro. I went one day and one day. And I'll say this, my number one tip coming away from it is one day is not enough at all.
Yeah.
But I got to do it and that was amazing. So let's start with this. What are a couple of things that you are most looking forward to? It could be people, it could be panels, like literally. And let's add for anybody who's watching or listening, you're going with your dad who introduced you to Star Wars.
Yep.
You're going with your son who you introduced to Star Wars.
Yep.
So we have this amazing 3-generation Fletzer. It's very special. And every time I think about it, and I've heard you talk about it, it really touches me that that's a part of the experience you're going to get to have. So what are the things, what are a couple, let's say 3 things that you're really looking forward to for your Celebration experience?
Well, yeah, I think so. First of all, I think, kind of, I'll try to take it in some sort of an order. So number 3 out of all of it is probably just, as you were saying, and as we talked about with Thank the Maker the other day, is just this concept of a con that is 100% Star Wars. As I told the Thank the Maker guys, when I was at New York Comic-Con, which is the last thing I've been to before pandemic, you had to kind of seek out the Star Wars stuff, right? There was all kinds of other stuff, but you found the big Star Wars sections. or tables or whatever. Um, but you had to look for them. Whereas I'm
Sure.
excited to see what it's like to be in this whole thing. Number two, I think I'm really excited. I wasn't as excited about the panels until they started to get announced.
Right.
And just for whatever reason, I don't know. I think that just sort of feels kind of surreal to me. But I'm now really excited to hear to be in the same room as Dave Filoni. If hopefully I'll get my ticket will
Hmm.
work. But to be in the same room with those guys as they do these big announcements, the things that I've been watching streaming for the last 4 or 5, actually all any Star Wars Celebration that has streamed, I have watched it and been like,
Right.
overwhelmed by watching whoever they just announced walk on stage. You're like, oh my god, it's that guy. Um, so I'm excited to be there for that. But the number one thing, and this is really interesting, and I think I would imagine it's probably this way for a lot of people this time around, because we've spent the last 2 years in our own little worlds.
Hmm.
We've created sort of a Star Wars extension to our family, to our friends, to our circle of
Absolutely.
people we know, and looking forward to actually seeing all these people in person. And just most of the people, the people who follow us on our shows, the people who follow us on Twitter, the people we engage with, in texting and whatnot, I've never met any of these people, but I feel like I know them as well as some of my best friends for 30 years, So
Hmm.
that to me is the thing I'm actually most excited about for Celebration, is to see these people and actually spend time with them, and really just kind of bring some reality to this fake Star Wars world that we've lived in for 2 years. So
Well, and that's absolutely it. And you and I have talked about, and I've talked about on my show, and I've talked about in group threads, and with my situation and the way it stands, if a miracle happens and I get there, that's the thing I'm looking forward to. And the thing I
right,
keep playing out in my head is, even if I couldn't go to Celebration, but I could figure out how just to get there, just to
right.
see people at night and hug their necks and, like, again, connect. We've spent 2 years growing and building a community of friends out of Star Wars, and that's what
Yep.
Star Wars has always been about. And so that's, I think it has the potential, certainly for a certain group of people, to be one of the more powerful Star Wars experiences that anybody's ever had. um, and I think that's really a big deal. I'm fascinated by the and I want somebody, in fact, Scotty posted today that he's gotten equipment to do footage and do all these different things. Like, I want to see, like, some sort of, like, pseudo documentary follow around of Pete and your dad and Jack, like, the experience for these three people. We talk about it all the time on this show or on
Yeah.
any of our shows, how your dad approaches Star Wars, how you approach Star Wars, how Jack approaches Star Wars, like, to experience Celebration through those eyes and to see,
Yeah.
those points. That's really going to be something fascinating to hear
Yeah,
how that goes.
it'll
And
be very interesting because, of course, I spend way too much time, as anybody who follows me on social, and Nick, because we talk every day. But um, Star Wars is such a big part of my life. This is going to be like, a pilgrimage, right?
mhm,
Um,
absolutely.
my dad, who has been going to cons for 40 years. But he's never been to a Star Wars only thing. So my dad knows how these things work, but it should be great. But it's going to be great for him too, because his grandson's going to be there, and his son. I mean, it doesn't matter that I'm 50 and he's 75. There's still that, father son bond that he's going to get excited about. And, he lived, most of his life without Star Wars. So Star Wars
Right.
is something that came later. For me, Star Wars has always been there since I was 7, and for my
Hmm.
son, it'll be really interesting to see. Like, so interestingly, two things that, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the Lego game. But when I was explaining to him, because the last show he went to was a very small comic book show up in North Jersey, and but so that's his exposure to cons. And again, it's everything. It's horror, it's comic books, it's whatever. Um, and I said, there's going to be like Star Wars actors and characters and things there. And he's like, I want to meet Cody. I want to meet the guy who plays Cody, because that's his Star Wars. I mean, imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine of all if you had access to any and all of the Star Wars characters, and you picked Cody. That tells you where his Star Wars mind is, and that should be really interesting to see how he responds to all the mass of Star Wars content that's going to be there. So,
yeah, and that's again, it's the different eyes. You're the show that I first heard somebody say the different windows and doors, the different places people enter Star Wars.
yeah,
You know, I think D. Bradley Baker's cool, and I'd love to meet him. I don't know that if I was going, I would prioritize that as one of my, photo or autograph expenditures.
right.
My list is different,
Yep.
but that's his deal. And that's something that I think is interesting. You and I were texting today about the prices for the different photograph and autograph points. And the most expensive ones, and this isn't a shot at anybody, but it's Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah,
Is
that
the
was
top
shocking to
tier.
me. Yep.
And Ian McDiarmid.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Daniels is right. No, is it Anthony Daniels? It's either
Yeah, Anthony Daniels is second. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there were two that were at the 155 level, and then either Anthony Daniels or Ian McDiarmid was right underneath that, and then it kind of slides down from there depending. But you've got Carl Weathers in that group. You've got Giancarlo Esposito in that group. Like, these are big actors outside of Star Wars, big personalities outside of Star Wars, but it creates it's just interesting the way that works because the impact that Ashley has had. And I guess what I want to say is not to take away from who she is or, any of that kind of stuff, but it's fascinating to see what people are looking for, what people want. And it's really neat. Emily Swallow, Bradley Baker, Dickie Beer, of course, again, certain one of these are going to hit some of us differently.
It struck me as funny that Dickie Beer is there. This is, and that's the thing to remember.
I actually chuckled out loud when I scrolled through this list because we got the email today that they had released this list of folks.
Yeah.
And I scrolled through it, and Dickie Beer, and it's not because I'm 14 and he has an awesomely kind of make you laugh out loud name, but I know who Dickie Beer is. He was Boba Fett.
Right.
In Return of the Jedi, when they're in the cantina, when he nods his head, like there's a specific moment that he's connected to. Jet Lucas was not on there when I looked at this earlier today. This has been updated.
So, which makes me think there's a chance George shows up, right? I mean, what else has Jet Lucas done? Well, let's look at his bio real quick. What is he
right.
done?
What was the price on Jet Lucas? Did we see that? He's Zet Jukasa, first of all.
Right. He is best known and only known for his portrayal as Zet Jukasa in Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, that's he's currently working in production in The Mandalorian. Okay, so he's working at Dad's company, so that's cool.
That's right. Very cool.
Jonas is only $70, which is shocking to me. I can't remember what Katie Sackhoff is. Kevin Thompson, an Ewok. See, now Michelle Ong, I would want to meet because I would love to just hear her voice, just to
hear her do,
And I love that Dr. Pershing is there. I think that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Shakti and Tim Rose, who Tim Rose is just is just living the dream about
that's right.
the Admiral Akbar.
He's getting there. So Claudia Gray.
But these aren't autographs, these are featured guests. So you got
That's
I can't wait to see Steve again. That's gonna be so awesome.
Oh my gosh, like that's another thing we need Scotty to get some footage of is you and Steve with a reunion.
Yeah, I can't wait to catch up with him. That's going to be really wild. But so we were saying about the just the fact that we have the list continues to grow in, and for me though, I see it's one of those things where I think much like, oh, they're making a Kenobi series. I don't think I need that. I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, I can meet Ashley Eckstein. I don't think I need that. But I'm probably going to be like, oh, shit, I'm going to have to buy tickets and get in that line. So,
well, one of the things I know based on experience, you can pre-buy those things now, but they do also, and I think Topps actually did it in 2017. They may have been the ones that ran that booth and ran all that. At that point, they did have it available that people could still go and purchase tickets because they usually do, I think, the photos, the autograph, like a ticket, like you're buying a ticket at the fair. Right. They did have a place that you could go and attempt to buy some on site because, of course, not everybody's going to know to prepare ahead of time. But then you get assigned a time, and do you have to wait in line, and have they sold out or whatever? So there may be some Pete photo autograph moments that change, on site. We'll just have to see how that develops.
We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, yeah.
Well, a couple of things, and I was just going to throw this out there because, again, I'm the seasoned Celebration veteran in this room at the moment. I had a couple of tips, things that I came away, and again, one day my first tip is you have to go for more than one day.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelming.
Hmm.
Because I was there for one day, like panels weren't a thing. Like I wasn't, the only day I had. So it was exhibition floor primarily.
Mm-hmm.
But what was great within that, and the way they had it laid out in Orlando, is that in the exhibition hall, you had the tattoo section,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. And, I think I heard you guys talk about this on Thank the Maker. Anybody that hasn't booked a tattoo for Celebration already probably isn't getting one. Like you have to book them in advance. Like you can't show up and expect to get one on site. That's just not going to happen. Because they've planned it out ahead of time, and it is neat.
Yeah,
Like these
and it takes
people
time.
are, yeah, it definitely takes time.
Right.
Tattoos, a good tattoo takes time.
Right.
But so there was that, but you had that in one part of the room. You had, all the stuff you can buy, because good Lord, there's stuff you can buy.
Right.
Mixed in with the stuff you can buy, you have like Nissan was there because it was Rogue One time. So they had like the Nissan Rogue that was themed for the movie.
Right.
And they had some other Nissans, like they had one that was painted like BB-8. They had one that had like the wings, like an X-Wing on it. Like there were some corporate tie-ins. You could buy vintage stuff from vendors. You could buy T-shirts, like you name it, you can buy it there.
Right.
Not a Novos, Prop Store had a booth. The Prop Store booth was fascinating because they had legit, real props, screen use stuff that you could buy. Now, most of it was real spendy, but they even had like, when you see like a poster rack and it's all the posters on like cardboard and you can flip through them like you're flipping through like a thing of record albums.
Yeah.
They had like pages of production notes.
Oh, wow.
From some of the movies. Like you could pick like a random day, pull it out of a thing, and it's like, September 7th, 1980, production on, whatever. And it didn't say anything, but it was real pages from real, like that stuff was neat. One of the things that fascinated me was they had the models that were Luke on the antenna under Bespin in Empire. Like, and it literally up close looks like pipe cleaners wrapped around like a something, but that's what they use to shoot those wide shots of the ship coming in. So you're going to get that kind of stuff. One of my favorite things is the Lego stuff. And because of Lego Star Wars, because of Lego's involvement with Star Wars, they had several different things. They had the life size, like Phasma and some of these other things built out of Legos. And they had plaques that told you how many pieces it was, how long it took. Those are fun. And those are photo ops. Those are little moments. They had a segment where you could walk around with, it was just a big table with bins built into it. And it was like, you start on this end, step 1, step 2, step 3. And if you went around the table and followed the instructions, you could build a little convention exclusive. And this was the one for Orlando. It's the Millennium Falcon. It's like 12 or 14 or 15 pieces.
Right.
Has a little base. Like this is how it went. And you went from step 1 to step 2 and you walked around the table. And you could do it as much as you wanted, at least at that one. So like, I think I did 3 or 4 of them and I brought a couple of home for buddies.
Right.
But it's just, Lego's involvement. They were also doing a thing where you build a brick, and over the course of the weekend, like the Lego master builders were building some like on-site, Jabba's castle or whatever it was that they were building. So all of that stuff mixed into the show floor, but in the middle of it, you have stages even there. So like the Star Wars, one of the main stages in the middle of all of it was there. So like they do Star Wars show from there. They would do, stuff throughout the day. And part of what touched me so much on that Thursday was I was there and I got to stand pretty close to the stage for Billy Lord came out on the stage after Carrie had died, and she did the Leia monologue from the hologram from New Hope.
Right.
General Kenobi years ago, you served my father in the clone. Like she came out on the stage and just did that. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my years as a Star Wars fan.
Wow.
Because I knew that was her mom. I knew that was this iconic, like it was amazing. And the room was silent. And we're standing here underneath like a literal, like giant TIE fighter that's like around the stage. And, George Lucas came out at one point. In fact, I have I put it in our pictures. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. So like in here, you've got the main stage with the screen over it. George is actually on stage at that point, and you can see all the pictures, people holding their phones up, recording and taking pictures. But like you could just walk around, and like some people are just like, oh yeah, that guy's up there talking, and other people are like, holy crap, George Lucas is literally on the stage.
George is in the house.
You have cosplay for days.
Yeah.
This is one of the best parts of Celebration, and the one day I went is seeing the costumes, seeing the creativity, photo ops.
Oh, wow.
Gentle Giant had a big old Jabba, and they actually had shifts of people dressed up as Slave Leia, and they would rotate out throughout the day. And if clearly this child is not interested in the photo op right here, but like you can see in the background, like that thing to the left is just a whole thing of like t-shirts.
Wow.
And
I am going to spend so much money.
Yeah. And then you're going to run into, R2s and Gonk droids. And actually, I love R2. He's one of my favorite characters, but there was a Gonk droid just to the right of this R2. And I took like 12 pictures of the Gonk droid. So very quickly, because I know we've got some other stuff we want to talk about. Here are my 3 tips as a one-day professional. If you want to buy stuff, as you just said, you're going to spend a lot of money. Buy early.
Yeah.
Like buy Thursday. And also, if you think you like something and you think you're going to buy it, but you tell yourself, I'll probably come back and get that later, go ahead and buy it.
Yeah.
Because there were several things that I thought, I'm going to come back and get this. And I didn't, because either I saw other things, the day got away from me, whatever it was. But especially if you're going for multiple days and you're staying, like you can buy your stuff and get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And then, stick it in your room, and then you have your next days for panels and whatever it is that you're going to do. I didn't have that, that's just kind of a nonsensey, whatever. But, that was one of my deals. Pack a bag. And this is a con thing. So people have been to cons before do this. I took a backpack. I'm a backpack guy.
Yeah.
Backpack with basics, a phone charger, a bottle of water, the things that, you're here all day. Like, of course you can go to the bathroom. Of course you can do your stuff, but you're going to take lots of pictures. You're going to run out of battery or whatever. And then the other one is kind of like that. I said, engage with everybody you can. And I would even add to that, take pictures.
Yeah.
Like you can come home and delete all the crap pictures. And I've deleted a bunch of the crap pictures from my day at, Celebration Orlando, but like, there's so much fun cosplay, and people want to show it to you. They want to, tell you how they made it. They want to, and then those are the things that I carry away from it. Like it's experiences over stuff. Like I bought some fun stuff. I brought home some things for my kids that they immediately forgot about. It was just Dad came home from a trip and brought me a stuffed animal that looks like an Imperial Star Destroyer or the pizza ship, as they called it.
Right.
But the experiences and those pictures and those memories that you get to take, and especially like you said, you're going to get to meet people. Like take those pictures, save, as much of that as you can, because that really is what it's about. Brian has a good point. We were having so much fun being there that we barely took any pictures, which I regret. So simultaneously, good for you for being involved, being in the moment, not being, let me get the selfie, let me get the picture, let me get the whatever. But it also reinforces my point. Like take the pictures you can.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, everyone, if they go back to doing it every year after this, which has maybe been rumored, like there's going to be more, but there's only going to be one, this one. Things will be different next year, and Jack will be different, and your dad will be, there's a lot they'll change and shift. But those are my very non-professional tips as
those are great
Star Wars Celebration attendee.
No, I think those are great, and I think you're right. I think it's and with what you said plus what Brian said, kind of that balance of being in the moment and trying to capture everything, and on top of that, I'm pitching some stories to some outlets, so I'll be there as a freelance writer. Plus, I'll be covering it here for ATG Cast. So, yeah, it's going to be. I'm glad it's 4 days because on the one hand, I'm like, what am I going to do for 4 days? But on the other hand, I'm like, no, there's 4 days. That's good. I can.
You need those 4 days.
I can take my time and enjoy it. And I've said it before, joking around, but I'm also dead serious. The great thing is, I'll have my 75-year-old father and my 9-year-old son who are going to, by the end of the day, just be wiped out,
wrecked.
So send them back to the room, and then I'll be able to do, because I have there's a big podcast meetup for those of you who are listening and are going to be there. There's a big podcast meetup with Dan Zaire from Coffee with Kenobi. Then on Friday is the Disney After Dark, the Star Wars night at the park, and then on Saturday I'm going to the Mosh Isley after party with the guys from
That's so awesome.
Thank the Maker. They happen to be they're also in the band Story of the Year and Yellow Card and
Hmm.
Bayside, and they're doing an event, an after party. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Got my ticket for that today, and but what's cool about that? That's a combination of three things. Kind of a cool event that's
Hmm.
happening. Getting to hang out with people that I know now, people who I
Right.
didn't know before the pandemic and got to know through podcasting, who happen to be in bands that are pretty freaking cool bands. So
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
it's just this weird sort of world that we live in this Star Wars world, and that's what I'm excited about. To sort of summarize all three of the points that I made, it's sort of like this culmination of all of these things all in one 4-day massive event. So
Yes. Well, and to throw it in there and to crystallize all of your interests and all your different things, I can't wait to see the footage that emerges when during Mosh Isley, Pete Pletzer from Around the Galaxy, noted bass player, gets drawn onto stage and will play bass for,
if
actually what it's going to end up being, because we've been talking about this lately. I can't wait for the video that surfaces of the all bass Star Wars fan band that shows up
it was so
at
funny.
some point.
I mean, between you and I think I've come to learn lately that John Hoey from the Resistance broadcast is also a bass player.
Also a bass player.
There's
See?
everybody. If you like Star Wars, you're probably a bass player. It's
Yep.
it's so
It's the
weird.
way,
It's so weird.
it's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we counted 9 last time we talked about it. So,
Yes. It's all the cool
well, that
people.
is fantastically fun. And we could talk just the whole night about that, but we have a couple of other things on our list. So I want to move us along a little bit. You mentioned this also in the news tonight. We're just kind of talking about the news and hitting on some of those highlights.
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga
Yes.
dropped on Tuesday.
Yep.
You grabbed a copy. I grabbed a copy. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to crack yours open yet or not.
I have. I haven't played it as much as I want to, but yes,
Sure.
I have experienced pieces of it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have too. I finished and I decided I was going to start, Phantom Menace and go, all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished the Phantom Menace episode and I'm almost to the Geonosis arena part of episode 2. That's
Nice.
as far as I've gotten in the midst of my, grown-up responsibilities, not playing Lego Star Wars video games. But I wanted to talk about Star Wars video games and certainly the hype for this and some of your thoughts. So let me ask you this first. What is your all-time favorite Star Wars video game?
Star Wars X-Wing from
Okay.
way
I knew
back.
you were going to say that, but I wanted to hear you say it out loud.
Yep.
Because they did X-Wing and then they did X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Yep.
Now, was that PC?
I think they did X-Wing and I think they did TIE Fighter, and then they did X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I could be wrong.
And
I had all of them.
PC?
That was PC, yes.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
So for those of you watching this that aren't as old as Pete and I are, PC means personal computer. And it used to be that either you had 8-bit Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Actually, you had things like this, Atari.
Oh my gosh, the cartridge.
Atari Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
But actually, underneath that, we have 8-bit Nintendo Star Wars.
Nice. Look
in the box and everything.
Wow.
That one's a keeper. But yeah, you play games on computer.
Yep.
So those were great games, and we had wireframe graphics, which kind of mirrored, on certain levels. It's like playing Doom or playing.
I like remarkably the old the arcade version of Star Wars, which was the all rage run.
Yes,
I still I have great memories of that. But what's your favorite Star Wars video game?
Gosh, I don't know if it's a favorite. That's a dumb way to answer this question because you said, what is your favorite? Yeah, Brian also says, don't forget the B-Wing add-on.
Oh, yes.
So I played a lot right out of college on PlayStation 2. I played a lot of Masters of Terrascasi.
Really?
Which was basically Street Fighter meets Tekken, but for Star Wars. Like it had that very chunky graphic, but like it had Mara Jade in it. So you could have Mara Jade fighting Darth Vader like you were in Street Fighter.
Right. Yep.
I played a lot of that. I played, I didn't play a ton of Star Wars video games. Like I played Nintendo as a kid. I played the 8-bit one and it frustrated me because it was hard. The one on Super Nintendo was even worse. Like And we've talked about this before, but when it comes to video games, like if I run into a dumb thing that makes me mad, I'll just quit and walk
Yep.
away.
I'm
Like
done.
I'm not
Yep.
going to beat my head against the wall to try and get past this. So I hadn't played tons, and so I've played catch up in recent years. I picked up Battlefront 2 late. I picked up Squadrons late. I picked up Bounty Hunter, which you can get on PlayStation Network. I've been playing that, a year ago.
Force
Jeff
Unleashed
says
was
Force
great.
Unleashed.
Yeah.
Yep, Force Unleashed 1 and 2.
Those were great. Yep.
So for Lego, because Lego has a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's kid. It's whatever. Until this one came out, I have never played a Lego video game of any kind on anything other than my phone.
Wow. No,
because they had the iOS versions.
Yeah, no, I've loved every Lego game. Me and my son have played Lego Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. We played what was it? I think I don't know, it's some Lego open world with the Lego City or something, which was so much fun. And we started playing this game together. So that's what I love about it. First, there's a couple things. First of all, the ability to play with 2 players, which is great, and the games aren't so hard, that you're like you get angry and throw your controller. Second is the humor. Like there's so much, and what I appreciate about this game so far, and just the little I've played it, is like the little inside jokes. I mean, they have jokes for people like you and I who are just deep nerds who will only get like there. I saw a screen. I have to say off of Twitter in some cases because people are showing screen grabs and stuff of things I don't want to see until I see it. But somebody did put up a screen grab of there is a Wilro Hood in Bespin somewhere. So like just little jokes like that just totally you can. They're funny on their own, but if you're a nerd, they're really funny. Which is just like the Lego, like the Droid Adventures and things like that. They're really great. They're really great shows and really great fun games. And this one looks amazing.
It looks wild. Like we watched Scotty, play on Bombad Gaming the other night, and in episode 1, when they have the big battle with the droid army, and you get that wide shot of all the droids coming out of all those ships, just that whole like it was so cinematic, but Lego at the same time. Like really, really fun, really impressive. And same thing, it's like a Pixar movie. It's got the adult humor, it's got the kids humor. I did notice, and maybe this was the Lego folks and people that work at Lego like us. I feel like they played up Qui-Gon especially, but even Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like being mean to Jar Jar and the droids. Like there are several times where like, yeah, he's a dum-dum. Like they're just these comments and I'm like, ooh, that's almost harsh for a kid's game, but kids probably don't notice it.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's great too. And I love that you can start anywhere. I tweeted the other day, and it's really interesting that, I said, if you think that the sequel trilogy isn't working for the next generation, I asked Jack where he wanted to start, which trilogy. And I thought for sure he was going to say the prequels. But he said, I want the one with Rey and BB-8, which I thought was really cool. And so that's where we're starting. That's awesome. Halfway through.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm surprised too, because Jack is a noted Clones kid. So
yeah.
The fact that he didn't pick the prequels, that's pretty cool. So it's a lot of fun. They've added in, all the downloadable characters, all the cheat codes. I found a screenshot. I need to send it to you that I sent to Scotty the other day. It's like 15 different codes for all these different characters.
Oh, cool.
They put the Mr. Bones one on Twitter the other day, but there's a whole bunch more like holiday special Chewbacca and holiday, this, like, just again, the silliness that you expect from Lego.
Right.
But also in an environment that you're like, it's just fun. It doesn't stress you out. It's a great way to just unwind, do something silly, but not too hard. It's a lot of fun, and it's gotten a lot of attention certainly this week with it, finally being out, because there has been was it a 2-year,
3-year delay.
Okay. Yeah. It has been a long coming thing, which I guess it begs the question, and we'll answer this and then move on. The future of Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
We've heard, rumors here and there. Of course, we have the Quantic Dream, Eclipse situation, which is its own thing. But we've heard rumors maybe of a Battlefront 3. We've heard, where the different things. What would you like to see as a Pete Fletzer level Star Wars video game player? What's the game that you want?
I think it's almost guaranteed to be announced at Celebration. I'm looking for Jedi Fallen Order 2. And
Yep.
the rumors on that are that it won't be Cal Kestis Part 2.
Right.
It's going to be
Whole new
another
story.
story, but yeah, similar, because that was a great game too. And I will
Yep.
admit, I started playing it on the hard level and it eventually got down to the easy level because you want to have fun playing it.
Correct.
But you also want to get a little something out of it. So yeah, so I would love to see a Jedi Fallen Order 2, and I'm excited and pretty sure we will see that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think I've said this to you before, but the PlayStation 4 that I have, I got literally like last January, so I've had it a little over a year. I'm playing catch up on a lot of things. I played catch up on Squadrons.
Mm-hmm.
I had played Battlefront 2 with other friends at their house, but finally got to play the story myself. And so Jedi Fallen Order was another one that I came to late.
Yeah.
But I played through that story and immediately was in love. Like,
yeah,
it's so good. It's so fun. And I did what you did. The is it the Ninth Sister?
Yeah.
The one in the middle. I don't know how many times I played lost before I realized that if I bumped the easiness down, I could actually win it and then move on and enjoy the rest
enjoy
of the game.
enjoy the story.
Yeah. So it took me a minute, but sometimes you just got to work the system. So I think I agree with you. I would love to find out what that's going to look like, and hopefully Celebration is going to bring that to us.
Absolutely.
So I said the word Celebration, which is the perfect transition, because the other thing that we kind of decided we would talk about tonight comes back to Celebration, and you talked about it in the news. As we said, tonight's kind of a expand on the news show.
Yeah.
Opening panel at Celebration.
Oof. Yeah.
What was the title of the opening panel? You said it in the news.
It is. Wait, I have it. Oh, it's something about live action. It's
live action Star Wars. Basically, the opening panel for Celebration, because Disney, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, they have leaned into the meat and potatoes right now for Star Wars is Disney Plus.
Yep.
So we're going to get Filoni, Favreau, as far as, basically that panel that's going to open Celebration, that's going to be the big feature on Thursday, is going to be talking about all the things that are on deck. Yep. There's probably going to be some, Kenobi's out at that point.
Kenobi will be
about to be out. It'll
Thursday,
be out the next day.
Right, it'll be out the next day. And then, but then there's the Mando Plus one on Friday or Saturday?
Sunday. I thought that one was Sunday.
Sunday is Bad Batch. Saturday is Mando
Bad
Plus.
Batch. Right.
And I think Friday will probably be Jedi Fallen Order, but that's just
really, Kenobi will be dropping the next day.
Right.
So what we're going to be really probably seeing, that's probably the spot for the Andor teaser or trailer.
Yep.
Ahsoka, as you report in the news, is going to start production later this month
in Los Angeles. So
in
they're
LA.
all going to be there, right? They're all going to be like down the street.
Yep. So here's what I'm going to ask you.
Yep.
For this panel.
Yeah.
What are a couple of surprises or surprise guests? Who do you want to see show up?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things you want to see the most out of this panel?
Well, it's interesting because I think it's weird that they're doing that plus the Mando Plus series panel, right? A couple days later. So
and it's interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's interesting that they separate those.
Yeah.
Because Mando's, we know they've wrapped up production. We hope that means that we're going to get like an end of the year release, November, December, which means separating it gives them the opportunity to talk about it, drop a trailer for Mando, which separates it out from that first trailer or first panel, which is reserved for Andor, Ahsoka. What is the other? What am I not thinking about? Acolyte? Is Acolyte a series?
Acolyte's a series. Yep.
Yeah. So it's reserved for those kinds of things, or an announcement of another series. Like,
yeah, no. So I think, and that's what's interesting about it is you're right. They have leaned into Disney Plus, so I think they'll talk Acolyte. I think, I don't think they'll talk Ahsoka there. I think they'll bring that up in the Mando Plus day.
Sure.
I think maybe we'll get more info on Patty Jenkins' movie, and I do think there's been a lot of rumors lately, and they're just rumors, but a lot of rumors with about another sort of secret series that is sort of in the works. Right. I've even seen some actors attached to it and things which seem like fan casting, but also seem possible. So I think we'll get Patty Jenkins information. I think it'll be very heavily Andor. Maybe we'll get some Lando information there as well. I
That
mean,
would be great.
it was interesting that Donald Glover, he's never really been officially attached to the Lando series, but he
Right.
kind of admitted to it on Jimmy Kimmel the other night.
Hmm.
So I think that's a possibility. I think we'll get some closure on some of those, but I think it's very possible we'll get more info on Patty Jenkins' series or movie Rogue One, and
Well,
I
and
think
that
we'll
was
get
what I was
Andor.
going to say.
Yeah.
The series feel more guaranteed.
Yep.
The thing I think that, as you know, somebody who's going to watch it, stream it, whatever, um, the live action movie part, because it's
Yep.
a live action Star Wars panel, like you said, the movie part of that is what I'm most intrigued to find out. What does
Yep.
that mean? Is Rogue Squadron going to still make?
Yep.
Rangers was supposed to be a series, so that's
Yep.
a different, and I think there's still life there. And I've, my long shot I threw out a while back was Paul Sun-Young Lee and Timothy Oliphant becoming the focuses of
Yeah.
Rangers of the New Republic. I still want that to be a thing.
That would be great.
And we got the tease. He's in the back to tank. There's something there. But I would love to find out, is the Taika movie happening?
Yep. Good one. Good point. Because Taika has said that he's written the concept at least, right?
That's right. And then, of course, the other thing that has never officially been shut down, and it's one of my favorite things to watch people lose their minds about, but Rian Johnson, there's still a Rian Johnson other trilogy hanging out there, which, I think in my gut that ends up being something High Republic, which is cool.
Yeah, it gives him a place to play where he's not going to piss anybody off, right?
Yeah, but there could be some opportunities to drop seeds for some of that kind of stuff also in that panel.
So here's a dangerous discussion.
Okay.
But I'll throw it out there.
I like Danger. It's my middle name.
Nick Danger Milky. It feels like Disney as a corporation and Lucasfilm as a corporation have kind of have put their feet into the end of the pool that they want to play when it comes to the politicization of Star Wars. And I'm not saying that it's politicized, but I am saying that there are certain segments of the fan base that are on one extreme or another. You get the geeks and gamers who keep shouting woke at Star Wars. And then you have sort of some of the really, what's his name? Sean Cannon Elias Reyes, who was one of my guests. He's a voice guy. He did Jackson in one of the books. He said, replace the word woke with kindness and see if those sentences don't tell you what people really mean, right?
Yep.
Anyway, that's a long way of saying that Disney feels to me like they have finally been like, you know what, we don't care what people say. We're going to do what we feel is right. And I think that opens a door for them to finally be like, you know what, we were worried about the impact of Rian Johnson on the franchise because of the BS that happened after Last Jedi. But now we just don't care. We know that we know where the fan base is. We know where the edges of the bell curve are. We know that Rian Johnson knows how to tell a great story, and Last Jedi, as we get a couple years away from it, more and more people are kind of either they like it or they don't, but it's not a visceral reaction. And I like what you're saying about it being High Republic era or post episode 10, because he can't quote unquote screw up Luke Skywalker anymore. Right. I would, how great would it be to get an announcement for episode 10, 11, 12 from Rian Johnson?
I'm so there for that. So there for that.
Rey and the Jedi Academy, and that would be fantastic.
I am by no means I have said before that The Last Jedi has the opportunity to be my number 2 Star Wars movie of all time. It floats in and out, Empire's one, other two from the original trilogy, it's a sliding scale. It's the day, it's the week, it's the whatever. But my single biggest critique, because I'm one of those, buttercream dream, I'm a Star Wars fan who loves Star Wars.
Right.
My biggest critique of the sequel trilogy is simply the fact that we weren't able to get a cohesive 3-movie vision.
Yep.
JJ did JJ, Ryan did Ryan, and they're both great at what they do.
Right.
But we go up and down. We change one track to another. So I am very much interested in if the sequel trilogy had been all JJ or all Ryan, I would have been on for that.
Yep.
and we know Ryan's still involved. JJ's done too. He's out. So I would love to see a 10, 11, 12 or a future, going forward, solely Ryan's vision. Like there's something there that I think is really neat and has potential. I wanted to shout out a couple of our viewers and friends who are commenting with the live action panel. JD said Grand Admiral Thrawn actor announcement.
Yeah, I think we'll get that.
That's a great opportunity.
Yep.
That would be great. And then Brian said Gareth Edwards needs more film.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree
too. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Rogue One, other than the fact that Scotty is loud wrong about Rogue One, it's a great movie. It's a great movie on its own merit. And even within the Star Wars universe, I love what he did with that movie and the way he made that. So that's exciting. It's live action Star Wars, which, we've gotten a bunch of. We know we're getting more of. But I can't wait to see what's going to come out of that. Michael's right. Michael just showed up. Lars Mikkelsen. Yeah. Is that your money for live action Thrawn?
For me, yeah, I think it is.
I mean, it's not John Teague. We know we want Teague.
I wish it was John Teague, but it's got to be. I mean, yeah, because it doesn't take a lot to get him to look like Thrawn either. It's not like he's, like a 4'6" woman. He's
right. And he's in the neighborhood,
right? And he's got, I mean, that voice is great. I mean, the only other voice that's better than Thrawn is Mark Thompson, and Mark's not going to get it. Sorry, Mark.
It doesn't seem likely that Mark's going to do it. So a lot to look forward to. A lot to between Celebration, which is our biggest thing on the horizon. Kenobi is certainly coming up.
Yep.
We've had a bunch. Like, we've had a great conversation tonight looking at all of these different things. I do want to say, because I mentioned Kenobi.
Yep.
We were supposed to do this last week, Pete.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
We were excited because we had a great show with our patrons. We had an amazing time hanging out. We
so much fun having them as guests.
30 extra minutes.
Yep.
With all those guests. But tonight, there's a little matter of business between you and me.
Yep.
We decided to do what I call the bottle bet.
Mm-hmm.
We're betting a bottle of booze. The way I like to do the bottle bet, and we're going to agree to this on air, so if we have issues later, we can go back to it for, the sake of transparency.
All right.
Loser's choice is how the bottle bet works.
Okay.
We're going to bet on what do you believe is going to be the first line that Obi-Wan says in the Kenobi series.
Correct. Yes.
Because there's some obvious choices out there. There's some other we know what everybody thinks it's going to be. So we're going to put it on air right now. I'm going to write it down. I have my happy little, podcast notepad.
Very good.
And we're both probably going to be wrong because you and I have terrible track records at predictions.
We are always wrong. Yes. But if one of us is right, that would be fun.
But in the off chance that one of us is right, the loser is going to send the other one a bottle of booze because that's what we do here. So I yield the floor to you.
All right.
What do you believe Obi-Wan's opening line in the Kenobi series will be?
Obi-Wan's first lines in the Kenobi series, debuting on Disney Plus on May 27th, will be, "Hello there." That will be his first line. "Hello there." And I just think, what else can it be? What else could it? JD is with me.
JD is 100% with you. And Michael also understands the vibe of this show. Brown booze, of course.
Yes.
That's what we do.
It's bad takes and brown liquor. So
that's exactly right.
Is a
okay.
So right, I'm not going to send you a bottle of like Mad Dog 2020, although that would be rude, and I don't.
That would be funny. I'd laugh at it, to be perfectly honest. So you're going with the classic "Hello there," which is an admirable choice, and I think, because we didn't get it in the trailer that we've gotten so far,
right?
It's a legitimate contender. Like, if it had been in the trailer, that felt super easy. That felt super whatever.
Right.
It's going to happen at some point. We don't know what it is, but we're talking about first lines for Obi-Wan, not first lines of the whole show, because it could open with, Egghead Inquisitor saying, "Now we have to deal with this." We don't know.
What if it's Vader saying "Hello there"?
Oh my god! What if it's? Oh my god! That's a whole this is like prop bet territory for the Super Bowl now. I like this from Brian. My guess would be not the blank you're looking for. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Let me put mine out there so that we have it on the record. I believe it's going to be, I have a bad feeling about this.
I like that.
And I base that on Ewan McGregor's literal first words in The Phantom Menace were, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yep.
When they're on the ship, before they meet the Smoke and the fake C-3PO, and they're on the Trade Federation ship before that whole thing happens. The literal first words we get from Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is, I have a bad feeling about this. So that's what I'm going with.
That's not a bad choice either.
No. And I feel like, I want George to, even though George isn't doing the show,
right?
The poetry, circumference, it rhymes, that whole thing. Like, that's what I'm trying to lean into. So
it could happen.
We have it down. We have it preserved for all eternity on the internet, because God knows things on the internet don't go away. If it's hello there, I'm sending Pete a bottle of booze. If it's I have a bad feeling about this, Pete's sending me a bottle of booze. And if it's neither one, which is most likely, we're both going to buy our own bottle of booze and drink it on the air anyhow.
That's right. Exactly. So,
well, Pete, we did it again.
We did it. We survived another Friday night. And you know what? Honestly, like I say it every time, I can't think of anything better to do on a Friday night when the kids are asleep, the wife's asleep, and I got some brown liquor, and it's great. Talking to a good friend about my favorite thing, Star Wars. So it's great. So Nick, we're probably going to do this again in 2 weeks. We're going to take next week off. It's Easter weekend, so we're going to take that off. We have a very busy schedule. We've posted it up for the first time. Hey, it says father and son. David,
what a perfect segue.
I was literally just going to ask Nick, who's on Podcast of the Wills this week.
I'm so glad you asked, because David showed up in the live chat right now. David, hello. First of all, salute. Cheers to you. This Thursday coming up, we are wrapping up the Return of the Jedi canon study. We finished all 6 episodes of our regular canon study. And for Empire and Return of the Jedi both, we've added a kind of a wrap-up episode, bringing on somebody else to talk about the whole film. And David and Timothy, father and son from As Father and Son, came on with me. We probably talked for an hour and a half. I'm doing some editing. We're going to make it fit and make it work. Fantastic conversation. And what I love about this, I love David, I love Timothy. They've become good friends in this space. But David actually texted me and said, hey, you're doing Empire. What better place for Tim and I to get involved than to talk about this? And I was like he invited himself, and I was thrilled that he did. And I kind of kicked myself for not plugging them in sooner. So this week, it's going to be David and Timothy, and we're going to look at the whole movie. We're going to talk about, our 3 guiding questions. We're going to just kind of wrap it up with, the things that we love about not Empire, Return of the Jedi. So you'll see that Thursday in the ATG Cast stream.
Excellent. Yeah, and it was a strange week this week for us. For those of you who listened last week, you did have 2 Around the Galaxies. Make sure to check both them out on your way into Thursday. We had Marshall Julius and Howard Berger. They have an amazing book coming out. That's a recent one. Hey, Fanboy Cantina, how are you? And then we also had Michael Messer, who, if you like impressions and comedy like I do, and the saddest part about that episode, as I was editing it, was just listening to me just laughing like an idiot the whole time, because Michael is good and he has fun with every line. So he was great there. So, but this upcoming Thursday, As Father and Son on Podcast of the Wills, talking Return of the Jedi. And then in 2 weeks, you'll get another Disturbances in the streaming Star Wars. So I just can't keep up. There's so much going on. So, but Nick, this was great, man. Thank you so much for hanging out this Friday night.
Always,
and may the Force be with you.
Always.